Hello from Cheltenham, not long now before one of the most eagerly awaited races of the season, the Tote Sport Cheltenham Gold Cup. Former winners, Corto star Denman and Imperial Commander, lead the old guard, but the challenge is headed by brilliant King George winner Long Run. Chief analyst Graham Dench and big race reporter Lee Mottershead will be along in a moment to preview the race. We've also got tips on all the other events at Cheltenham on Friday, including a whisper from Wally, a view on the Christie's Fox Hunter from point-to-point expert Carl Evans, and more from our Inform Island correspondent Jessica Lamb. These are the races on Friday's card, kicking off with the Triumph Hurdle at 1:30, the first of 3 Grade 1s on the final day. Well, it's the most open Gold Cup for years, and we've got a top team of Graham Dench and Lee Mottershead here to look ahead to it. And Lee, very much old against young this year. You've got Imperial Commander Denman, Corto Star, up against the likes of Long Run and Pandorama. Yeah, I mean, that is the narrative that runs through this season's race. You have got that old brigade of Corto, Denman, Imperial Commander, and Graham, who's a venerable statsman, will tell you that you have to go up a long time to find certainly a horse of Denman or Corto's age, 1969, to horse 11 and won a Gold Cup. Also, Imperial Commander's age, a 10-year-old. That doesn't make good reading if you're a stats follower. I think the worry for them is that you have got a really strong set of new recruits. You also like Long Run, you've got Kempes, Pandorama, Midnight Chase, lots of potential young bucks coming there to dethrone the old guard. It's a fascinating race. And Graham, I mean, Corto, Star and Denman, they've been breaking the stats sort of through their career. Could they still, you know, win?
They can, yeah. I'm not too worried about the stats, to be honest. I'm very much in the Denman camp again. He's not very sexy this year, but I think he's got so much going for him, and especially if we get the rain that we're expecting. We've got lots and lots of pace in the race as well. You know, we've got Carruthers and Midnight Chase. Denman himself will be close behind the pace too, I'm sure. Yeah. I think you're going to really need to stay, and I think his form this year, the place in the Hennessy, I think that was a fantastic run. Been kept fresh since then. He's had that little wind up. He's had a much better preparation than a year ago. You know, I backed him each way, but I can't see him being out to 3. An Imperial Commander obviously had a hiccup. You know, he missed the King George, that setback. You know, we've seen him gallop since, but we haven't seen any racecourse evidence. In fact, there's a very little racecourse evidence for any of the main ones this year. They've all only run once or twice, haven't they? But
I mean, are we being a bit quick to write off Corto Star? I mean, he's been a great horse through his career, a bad run in the King George, and does that mean he's got no chance in the Gold Cup? The worry for me, Sam, with Corto is that we've got 3 bits of evidence now that suggest he's not the horse he was. We got last season's Gold Cup when he was struggling from a long way out, even allowing for that early mistake which put him on the back foot. Down Royal in his reappearance, yes, he beat Sizing Europe, but not the Sizing Europe we saw yesterday. It was only a performance that rated in the 160s. And at Kempton in the King George, what's always been his track, he looked that 1 gear slower. Whereas Denman, in one piece of evidence this season, looked very, very close to his best. As Graham says, that Hennessy run was probably the single best performance from a chaser this season. His preparation has been much better than it was last term. As we talk now, they're looking at 45 mils of rain on Friday morning. Simon Clace reckons if that comes that close to the race, we could end up with pretty much soft ground. That'd be right in Denman's favour. If we get that, I'm all over Denman. If not, I wouldn't rule out Kempes. I think he's a very speedy horse. He's really finished his Irish, his Hennessy Gold Cup win in grand style. And wouldn't it be a great story if, having missed out on binocular in the Champion Hurdle, JP and AP end up winning the Gold Cup with Kempes, and it's a possibility. It would be a great story. Another great story would be if Sam Whaley-Cohen managed to win on Long Run, yeah. And he must have a great chance. I think so, yeah. He's been absolutely awesome twice at Kempton. Kempton's a very different track to Cheltenham, but I think people have overplayed how disappointingly he ran in the RSA chase, and again here in the Paddy Power. The Paddy Power run in particular was a good run, I think, at the weights. I think if he does get into a rhythm and he stays the trip in what we suspect may be a fiercely run Gold Cup, then yeah, of course he can win. And anything at a big price maybe running into the frame, you've got likes of What a Friend, Tidal Bay, any of them you could see getting involved? Well, I wouldn't rule out Midnight Chase, who's a real course lover, got fantastic Cheltenham form, and if it turns out that you don't need an exceptional winner the Gold Cup time because of the way the race pans out. Then I'd see him running well. And for you, Graham, you put up an outsider with Denman as well?
I can see Tidal Bay running into a place. I couldn't possibly back him, but it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Denman to win.
Denman's my main selection, yeah.
Okay, well thanks chaps. More big race previews to come. First though, let's get some views from the couch.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's me Mark. We're standing on the final day at Cheltenham on Friday, looking at the Vincent O'Brien County Hurdle. Cracking race this. I fancy 3 against the field here. Not us to the tour. David Pipes, my excellent race, went third in the old Togo Trophy at Newbury the other day. Ran well at the festival last year, was second in the Fred Winter. I expect him to run a big race. Also in that race, Soldatino, Nicky Henderson's was just behind him. I know he's much fitter this time. We've got a real good message for this, for poor old Nicky Henderson with Soldatino. But my main bet in the race is going to be on Black Stair Mountain, a horse of Willie Mullins. Willie won it last year with 1,000 stars. Horse also tipped up at 50 to 1 for the champion hurdle, finished 4th. Very upsetting for me that, but never mind. We'll get it all back here with Black Stair Mountain in the county hurdle.
Well, we've paired up Naps champions Nick Watts and Stuart Redding to look ahead to the Triumph Hurdle. They're in form as well. Nick, looking at the Triumph, Grand Douai and Media Luz head the cast for Nicky Henderson. He's won the race the last 2 years. What chance of making it a hat-trick?
Well, they've got a good chance, but I don't think they set an exacting standard. I mean, and you can see that from the betting. I think it's 5 to 1 the field at the moment, so it's absolutely wide open. And Grand Douai was beaten on his first 2 starts, and Media Luz was beaten on her first start. So they are improving. You just wonder if they're up to the Henderson standard of recent years. And I think it brings a lot of horses into the equation.
So Grand Douai not exactly setting a high standard. Would you be looking to oppose the favourite, Stuart?
Yeah, I think I would. I'm not sure that he really deserves his place at the head of the market, to be honest. He's got 15 lengths to find with Sam Winner on their race, their meeting here earlier in the season, and I think he's priced on Nicky Henderson's recent record more than anything else.
Okay, so looking for a selection, where would you be going?
Well, I think with the Irish, they've had such a phenomenal meeting. I think they can continue it here with Unaccompanied. The trainer's won the race before, way back in 1990, but he knows what's required. The horse is the Grade 1 winner in the race, and he's got the form in the book. The ground won't matter. It's won on good to firm on the flat and heavy over hurdles. I think Unaccompanied sets the standard. Okay,
so Unaccompanied for Stuart. Nick, your selection and why?
Well, I think if the ground did stay good, Third Intention would have a massive chance. I think he's a really, really strong traveller. I think he's got a lot more to give. And he should have won here a couple of starts ago, I think. Just got run out of it by Local Hero. Almost travelled too well. It was the same last time when he was beaten by Houblon des Obeaux in the Victor Ludorum at Haydock. That was softer ground, but he'd prefer it good. If it stayed on the good side, then I'd quite strongly fancy him. If the rain did arrive and it did turn softer, then I think you could give Smad Place a definite chance. I think he's a real strong stayer at 2 miles. I'd really like to see him go for it and Robert Thornton take the bull by the horns and be positive on him, because he really stays 2 miles well. In an open race, I'd give him a chance, especially if the going went soft.
Okay, well thanks guys. More from Nick and Stuart in a moment. First though, let's hear from our Ireland correspondent, Jessica Lamb.
Ireland has never excelled in the juvenile hurdle department, and I don't think that's going to change on Friday in the Triumph Hurdle. Unaccompanied is the best of the lot, and she is talented, but I don't think she's as good as the home team. Victory for Ireland could come hot on the heels of that race, however, in the County Hurdle, where Durar, the Tote Sport Ebor winner, features among a 5-strong squad. Gordon Elliott has proven time and again what a master he is at laying a horse out for one of these competitive handicaps, and he has an outstanding chance. MCR hurdle winner Final Approach lacks a bit of experience for the hurly-burly of the County Hurdle, but his Willie Mullins trained stablemate Black Stair Mountain is another one to consider. The rain looks like coming in time for Pandorama's Gold Cup bid, but the thing is he's still up against Corto Star, Denman and Imperial Commander. Unfortunately, I don't think that the Raiders are going to take this with him or Kempes or China Rock. Gagewell Flyer represents another great chance for the Raiders in the Albert Bartlett, but he's not their best bet of the final day. No, that is Sir de Champs in the Martin Pipe. It's a bold move from Mullins to run him in such a competitive handicap with only 2 runs over hurdles, but I kind of think he knows what he's doing, and he could give Emmett Mullins, Willie Mullins' nephew, a first festival victory.
So still lots more to come. Couch will be going through the rest of Friday's handicaps. Steve Mason and Paul Keeley will be on with their best bets, and we'll have the view from the betting ring ahead of the festival's final day. Well, the Amateurs Gold Cup, the Christie's Fox Hunter, is at 4 o'clock, and the Racing Post Weekenders point-to-point correspondent Carl Evans is here to have a look at the race. And Carl, I suppose the obvious place to start, Baby Run, last year's winner.
Yeah, he's in great form, isn't he? He's won at Wetherby and Haydock already this season. Formed a great partnership with young Willie Twiston-Davies. He's a straightforward horse. He goes out and makes all. Could we get serious overnight rain? That's a debate, but he'll handle any ground, so it's not a concern for punters in that regard either. He's got the form in the book, third in it 2 years ago. He won it last year. The big danger is obviously the Irish horse on the fringe. He's won 2 hunter chases, including the Champion Hunters Chase at Punchestown last season. He's still only 6, but that didn't stop Kingscliff a couple of years ago. And the Irish are talking about him as being a future Grand National or even a Gold Cup horse. JT McNamara, top rider. Looking down the list, a few others that you really want to consider would be Gone to Lunch, who was runner-up in last year's Scottish National. He's won 2 point-to-points this season. He was a sick horse in the summer, but he seems back to his best now. Oscar Delta is another challenger from Ireland who's won 3 point-to-points, suddenly come of age as an 8-year-old. He's still young enough to be progressive. Turthen was runner-up to Kappa Bleu a couple of years ago and finished ahead of Baby Run on that occasion. He put up a terrific performance at Wincanton earlier this season, has disappointed at Leicester since, and might not quite get up the hill, but if it doesn't rain, Turthen must come into it at a big price. And then Paul Nicholls' horse, Just Amazing, has won 200 chases this season. I'm not terribly sure about the form of those, but he's got Ryan Mahon on board, who's a really crack amateur. There's a few mares down at the bottom that cannot be written off. Seracina's won at Fours Last this season. And the mare Mid Divon Creep, who's a stablemate of Dante Storm, and he's certainly in with a chance, but he's very bold and very aggressive. Go back to Mid Divon Creep. She's a flying machine in ladies' point-to-points. But Cheltenham, Fox Hunter Chase, a very different challenge. She's got Gina Andrews on board, though, and that's a big plus. But the mare that really stands out for me is Jaunty Flight, ridden by Tom Greenall, who's a top amateur, trained by David Easterby, and she put it up to Silver by Nature a couple of seasons ago at Perth. She had to have some time off, but she's won a couple of point-to-points. David Easterby's making big noises about her. So Jaunty Flight is certainly an each-way bet to consider, but you wouldn't want to walk away from Baby Run and On the Fringe.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, me Mark Mustani. Have a look at the Martin Point Conditional Jockeys Handicap Hurdle. If you're looking for Ruby Walsh and Tony McCoy, you'll be a long time looking in this race. We need some decent jockeys and decent pilots in this race. One of them, Ian Popham, a good jockey for Paul Nicholls, King of the Night. I know this has been plotted up for this race. There'll be more plots in this race than you'll normally find at a local home base, and this is definitely one of them. The plot here, King of the Night from the Paul Nicholls yard. I also really do like in this race, though, comes from Ireland, trained by the master himself, Willie Mullins, Sire de Champs, this horse. Come over from France, won at Navan over 2 miles on his only run from Willie, was back that day as though the defeat was out of the question. I looked at the handicap mark, I think it's absolutely lobbed in. It's running here in a handicap rather than one of the graded races at the festivals, and I think it's a real good thing. One of my bets of the meeting, definitely my bet of the day, Sire de Champs, ladies and gentlemen, in the Martin Pipe Conditional.
Well, Friday's Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle is one of the most competitive championship races of the week. And Nick, Bobsworth favourite and sets a pretty good standard.
Yeah, I just wonder if Nicky Henderson might regret not running him in the Neptune Investments yesterday. Looking at the proximity of Rock on Ruby, he beat him quite comfortably last time. Could well have won the Neptune. This is an unknown trip for Bobsworth. He's never been 3 miles before. And if this forecast rain comes tomorrow and does turn the ground good to soft, this race can turn into a real war, as we saw last season when Bertie's Dream won. So Bobsworth has a lot of class, but I do just wonder if he'd be better at 2 miles 5. This is a real stiff test for novices, 3 miles around here, and I just wonder if it might find him out if the ground turned.
So a lot of class, but is opposable, Stuart.
Yeah, I think like Nick said, he's probably got the best form in the race. But I mean, he's quite a short price favourite now, and I think I'd be willing to look elsewhere.
Okay, so where would you be looking?
I think Kilcrea Kim's probably the one for me. It's been progressive all the way through the season. Admittedly, it did run here 2 races back and it was beaten, but it was beaten by competitive handicappers, I mean, the likes of Ashkazar, and he's going to take his chance in the World Hurdle. So on that evidence, I think drop back in grade, taking on younger rivals again, I think he's got every chance.
Okay, so Kilcrea Kim for Stuart, and for you, Nick?
Yeah, I've been keen on Join Together all season. I think this is a horse that's just getting better and better. Third behind Caught in Motion, not being beaten far first time out. Then had a run round here in December, finished second behind Mossley. Really good effort. Race not run to suit that day. There was a slow early pace and he was held up out the back. Should have been making the running because he's a real strong stayer. As we saw at Chepstow last time when he absolutely hacked up in deep ground, won by the best part of 20-25 lengths. I know Paul Nicholls is very keen on his chance. The more rain that arrives tomorrow morning, the more that I'd fancy him because he is a real strong stayer at the trip.
OK, well, thanks, chaps. And now let's get some more views from the couch.
If we're in trouble by the time we're in the last getting out stakes, the Johnny Henderson Grand Annual Handicap Chase, and we really will be in trouble. I think the clue's in the title. Johnny Henderson, of course, Nicky Henderson's father. Nicky won this with Green Open a few years ago, and I hope he wins it again with Tanks for that. Of course, he also was second to Walk and Folly. Now that also in with some sort of chance at the second last in the Queen Mother here on Wednesday. Ploughed through the second last and lost all chance, but I think it'd have framed back for that. Tanks for that for me. One handicapped animal. Had a run over hurdles the other day to preserve a nice handicap mark. Tanks for that for me. Paul Nicholls always does well in this race. He won it a few years ago. He's lined Pepe Simo up for this race all year long, so keep an eye on him. And also Brendan Powell's called Shore Acres. Was very impressive at Taunton the other day. Run well at the festival before. Shore Acres, keep an eye on him. But Tanks for that. The getting out stakes. If we're in trouble, Tanks for that.
In the county hurdle, Alarazzi, who transferred a large chunk of his flat ability to hurdles when winning the Imperial Cup on Saturday, is the clear pick on hurdle figures. But arguably of more interest is the Gordon Elliott trained Durar. The stable couldn't be in any better form, and the horse really improved on the flat last summer, winning the Ebor and in a Racing Post rating of 111. That means, in theory, that he could be a 150-plus hurdler. And racing back over hurdles for the first time since off 138, he could be very interesting. He warmed up for the race with a prep race on the all-weather at Kempton.
Forget about the Cheltenham Gold Cup, maybe a great race, but not a betting proposition. The one race you want to focus on is the Albert Bartlett Hurdle. One horse joined together. Now this is the apple of his trainer's eye, Paul Nicholls. Ruby definitely rides it. He had the choice of one or two other horses, Willie Mullins contenders. This is the horse he's chosen. It's presently 11 to 1. Take the price, it can't possibly start at those odds.
So we've heard plenty from our tipsters about what's going to win and how they see the races. What about the bookies? Here's Ian Moss and Mick Howard from Mick Howard Bookmakers. And Ian, how do you see the Gold Cup?
Good morning, everybody. A lovely day here today at Cheltenham. The Gold Cup, well, we are looking to get the old guard beaten. We feel there's horses in this race that can get the better of Kilto Star, Denman and Imperial Commander. And even the young horse Long Run, which undoubtedly is a brilliant horse and wonderful performance at Kempton in the King George. Asking a 6-year-old to win the Gold Cup is an awful lot. It's a big ask. We haven't had a 6-year-old win the Gold Cup for 48 years, and the stats are very much against it. Having said that, not many 6-year-olds are running the Gold Cup. Nevertheless, we will be looking forward to having a wonderful midnight feast tomorrow afternoon when Midnight Chase romps in the Gold Cup.
Strong words going against the market principles there. One of the hottest favourites of the day is Baby Run in the Fox Hunters. And Mick, will you be going against him?
Yes, we will be laying Baby Run and trying to make him a loser if we can. He's trying to perform an unusual feat of winning the race back-to-back. It's going to be very difficult. There's a tremendous sort of field this year of lots of horses in very good form between the flags. The English horses have won 9 out of the last 10 runnings of the race, but tomorrow, or in the amateur race, on the fringe from Ender Bolger will obviously be a strong Irish contender to break that sequence. We'll have to give a mention to Mid Div and Creep, very good all-conquering ladies pointer, ridden by the very promising Gina Andrews, trained by Alan Hill. Alan Hill also runs Dante Storm, who's in very good form in Hunter Chases this season, so it promises to be a really, really good renewal of what is traditionally the Amateurs Gold Cup.
Well, that's all from me for now. Good luck whatever you're backing on Friday. The selections from our tipsters are now up on screen. Remember, you can place bets direct with William Hill if you're watching this on your phone using our app, or with all the major bookmakers straight through our site, racingpost.com. Just time, as ever, to leave you with our betting editor, Paul Keeley, and his nap of the day.
It's the final day of the Cheltenham Festival, and the bet of the day comes in the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. It's Paul Nicholls joined together. This horse has progressed with every single run, seems to be getting better and better, and will love the trip and ground. It must be significant that Ruby Walsh has chosen to side with the Nicholls runner, while Willie Mullins has a couple of decent runners in the contest himself. So there's a pointer for you.